le président, Papa Biya, et sa chère épouse, Maman Chantal Biya, tous les deux m'ont chargé de vous dire qu'ils vous attendent à Yaoundé avec la coupe.
Mr. Paul Biya has been out of the country now for more than 75 days counting. Neither the calendar of when he is coming back has been made known to Cameroonians, nor an appropriate governmental statement that can assure Cameroonians that their head of state, 10 months after election, is doing well. The Prime Minister, Chief Dr. Dion Ngute, went to Morocco, and in the course of the WAFCON, the Women African Cup of Nations finals, had to pour promises. Good morning and thanks for joining us, dear viewers. Some silence are sometimes very heavy to keep for long. The Women African Cup of Nations finals had to pour promises. He told the girls that the daddy of the nation, the president of the republic, Paul Biya and Maman Chantal Biya, are waiting for them in Yaoundé with a trophy. And so, if the girl played their own part, in today's edition, we are questioning ourselves what of the promise of the head of state. And to the president of the Cameroon Football Association, FECAFOOT, Samuel Eto'o have taken on to a serious blow with his haters, punching them in front of camera as a way to say they don't have a stand to have a public debate with him. If they have chosen to criticize instead of participating in the construction, it's certainly because they are playing in lower leagues. I'm not alone. I'm being joined by Ferdinand. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and thanks our viewers for always being there. If you're joining us, we are welcome. You have heard the headlines, and today we'll be discussing these topics and more. First, starting with the Prime Minister's promise. After the victorious or the wonderful play of the Cameroon national team, we saw that the Prime Minister, out of excitement, told the Lionesses and the country that they will receive a presidential welcome. I think everybody was excited, expecting that we'll see our president. Unfortunately, that promise was broken. The question Cameroon Wahala is asking, a promise that went completely was unfair. Was the public commitment just an innocent blunder? Or was it deliberate communication that maybe backfired? The Prime Minister honestly expected that the president would be there to welcome the Lionnes. And so I'm asking our expert in the house.
So, it's not like the Prime Minister did not know what was happening. He knew exactly what was happening. But most of the time, we do promise our own children back home things that we don't always fulfill. I remember a moment that my son asked if I was to take him to the playing ground this coming weekend. I answered yes. And within the line, I gave reason why I couldn't meet up. Is that trying to justify what the Prime Minister did? No. We can never compare the way a household is managed with the way a country is managed. And to some political scientists, they think that the Prime Minister is simply victim of the increasing malaise that exists within the governing power,
but nobody
on how to explain the situation at the presidency.
Let me comment, because if you say that somebody whispered said this, he understands everything. So, but he's the one who made the comment. Nobody, I think, he was not at gunpoint making such a comment.
Of course, it was a motivational talk.
Okay.
And generally, those who follow motivational videos know that it is an instant booster. He used and coined his statement to boost the morale of the girls, to know that something heavy awaits them. He accompanied his statement with an envelope. And so it is political analysts and pundits who are pushing hard on that statement for reasons beyond the promise that was made to the Indomitable Lionesses, none of them have come out to actually decry the unmet or broken promise of the Prime Minister, head of government, Chief Dr. Dion Ngute. None of them. It means that somehow, somewhat, they knew that it was a way to galvanize the team to stay coherent, to stay together, to work towards the same objective, to have a fighting spirit. It was a way to rearm them, to tell them that if they cross this final line, they are going to be different citizens. And I think the reception that was made for them, it was not something small. It was something proportionate to what they have not witnessed before. And so, if just the reception could already prepare them for better treatment or for better feelings, I think it was enough to absorb the shock, the psychosocial shock that one could expect that they should be going through now, because a man they hold at high esteem, the Prime Minister of the Republic, could make such an allegation which is yet to be fulfilled. So, Mr. Journalist, Mr. Ferdinand, I simply think that the Prime Minister used a motivational statement, and so it shouldn't be used by politicians for other purpose. Maybe in the course of our discussion, you may like us to highlight why the head of state is out and nothing is said, or the different sources that are providing information are not converging towards the same objective. For example, the health of the President of the Republic, Paul Biya. Normally in the world,
we will get to that aspect, but let me ask a question. I'm just a common man on the street. I think that the Lionesses were welcomed.
Right.
Could it be that it was just a kind of a euphemism, or just that, like a presidential, what needed to be done? Not necessarily that the president was there to welcome them.
The President of the Republic is a symbol.
Okay.
Normally, in every other country, the head of state is supposed to welcome the African champs or the world champions. So, the fact that he has not welcomed them yet does not cancel the fact that he could welcome them. Just that the statement of the Prime Minister was not timely. He said it with authority that as they step out of the Simalen International Airport in Yaoundé, they will likely meet Paul Biya at the airport waiting for them, or they are going to drive straight at Etudi to meet President Paul Biya, which was not what we witnessed. So from that perspective, one could say, obviously, that the Prime Minister gave a broken promise. He said something that was unverified, or that was only instantly consumed and had no future.
Okay, I think that's quite interesting, and just because the president did not show up, I want us to extend this conversation to the president has been out. Every Cameroonian is aware that he has been out for more than close to 75 days or 70 days. I don't know the exact number. And this was a private visit. Again, we still see a lot of things happening, maybe military appointments taking place in the country, and the president is not there. Is this sustainable to the country, or we are just living in an autopilot system?
Autopilot system is not today that it has been set, and that's where we found ourselves. It was set since 2019. The 2018 election that was rigged by Paul Biya,
allegedly,
so you see, was a mandate that he did not lead. And if he could not march on with the 2018 mandate, it's not the 2025 mandate that he can fulfill. Now, those who surround him, his close collaborators, are the one who insisted, or who are insisting, to keep him as a figurehead and be using his proximity to usurpate government role. Now, you will keep quoting my statement as allegation or sweeping statement because they are unverified. But here is it. Nowhere on earth can we expect a man of 93 to be in perfect health. Yet, the same people who are supposed to communicate on his health are unable to tell us what is at stake as he moves out of the country. Last year, at this very moment, they even won Cameroonian not to answer questions or not to talk about the health of the president. That's why most people are surprised that Mr. Paul Atanganji, Minister of Territorial Administration, up to this point, has not said anything about the various outings. Now, your question was specifically about the different outings of government. There is a spokesperson for the state. He came out and spoke, but the other people thought that his statement lacked weight. The minister, Director General of the Cabinet, of the Civil Cabinet, came out, Vondo Ayolo, and spoke again after the spokesman of the state spoke. And his statement was completely different from what the spokesperson of the state said. The spokesperson said President Paul Biya has gone in Europe for a short stay. Vondo Ayolo came out and reassured Cameroonians that everything is fine. They should rather focus on the things that are moving in the country than worry about the whereabouts of the state. And we heard that was not enough. The Minister of Higher Education came out again and spoke. And he was categorical that there is no constitutional vacancy. There is no provision of the law that has been abused.
Let me just come in here. Yeah, could we, looking at the digitalization of the world, I think that, don't we think that there is a new dimension of rulership you can even rule from outside? Telecommunications have made it possible, unlike before where you must be physically present. Is it another way that we are saying that we are entering a new system of ruling, which is remotely, even government is accepting it and doing it?
Like the case about remote signatures and government management they are thought-provoking agendas. Yes, those who are filing that particular line of argument actually want to obtain vacancy, because in case the Constitutional Council declare vacancy at the head of the state apparatus, what the Constitutional provide, the provision of the Constitution to follow up, should take immediate effects. So it is consequential to report that the state is being managed in a remote way. So those who are pressing on that particular line know exactly the consequence of an affirmation from the state from that direction. If they finally acknowledge that all the different military appointments and others that have followed, including that of the National Hydrocarbons Corporation, were all remotely signed, then the mechanism of the states, the different apparatus, notably the Constitutional Council, will need to come in and declare vacancy at the level of the presidency of the Republic. And previously, the Constitution provided that 45 days was enough for a new cabinet to come in place and organize new election. But as it was modified on the 31st of March 2026, it's rather giving the President of the Republic latitude to appoint a vice president who de facto will act like the president until the next election. So, if the Constitutional Council now comes out and declare vacancy at the head of the state, which is not practically possible because Paul Biya appoints the president of the Constitutional Council and his member in between two electoral calendars, meaning between the last presidential election and the next presidential election, his mandate for there and is renewable. So the President of the Republic put a spear on his neck and threatened him with that kind of appointment that if you dare joke with some nomination or with some observation from your position, I can change you at my own will. And that is why we fear that the vacancy that Cameroonians want to obtain from the Constitutional Council might not be something of tomorrow.
I know that this might be shifting. We have seen a new type of rulership the world over. In 2024, America had a similar situation where some Americans were saying that the president is unfit to rule, but he was there till the end of his term. Currently, we also have one of the senators, a long Additional Corner, which has been a majority leader in the Senate for a long period. And he's still there. His whereabouts is everybody is speculating. Say some are saying he's dead, he's not alive. Are we seeing a change in how transfer of power becomes in our modern day? The concept that there was democracy is just a utopic that do not really cater for the needs, because how can a president visibly unfit to rule, like the case of the US, if we can give instances that were verifiable? The media was gaslighting until it's the famous debate that he couldn't continue. And we also see an important, and that's the same situation in Cameroon. We have seen that people left the office and immediately they signed out of life. It tells us that people finish their economic life, their useful life, and so on, and they're still ruling. What's happening with democracy, which was government for the people, by the people, and so on?
No, when democracy has been customized locally, it gives what we witness. Democratic practices are practiced all over Africa in so many countries, but for the Sahel region that are under revolution. And what we observe elsewhere, even people who force themselves to power try to serve their citizens. We are seeing the case with Gabon. New structures are being erected daily. Deadlines are set for public affairs, and that's the minimum we expect from our own democracy. Cameroon will boost itself to have freedom of speech, but after speaking is something else. So most of the time, people tell you that what you say while you are in Cameroon, you can't say it in other parts of the world. People come out, express themselves freely, but very few also know that people are cracked down. People are in prison because of what they said in the very Cameroon. So government cannot keep boasting that there is freedom of expression in Cameroon when we know that there are people in prison because of their political opinion. It's not one, it's not two. And as you said, people have been exposed from office and week that follow the path from to Trinity. And those are signs that the apparatus is octogenarian. It is a set of friends that took the country since 43 years, and they have been driving on the highway till they are tired. Now, still on the highway, their vehicle is having breakdown. They are simply refusing to take the secondary lane and allowed the country to keep piloting towards development. All the indicators they set around for emergency in 2035 is yet to be revisited. It was already revisited in 2019, where they announced the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. Here we are 6 years into the goal, so 4 years to end. None of the indicators, take for example, the Douala-Yaoundé highway that was to kickstart in Douala, a project earmarked for 6 months, have now run 10 years and above, and yet up to 44% of the project have not been obtained. These are little indicators to make you see that the way Cameroon is ruling now has nothing to do with democratic practices. It has been customized in a way to protect the hegemony, the Western hegemony, notably that of the French, those of the French, our previous colonial masters. They have no problem. Take, for example, the France ambassador in Cameroon never congratulated President Paul Biya after his 8th alleged victory, as the Constitutional Council puts it. So, and when he was questioned, when the ambassador was questioned about what kind of diplomacy is that, where a friendly country renewed the term of his president and your country does not congratulate him, he says that he has not changed anything on the Cameroon-France relation. This is just to tell you that it's been long that Cameroon is not more practicing international democracy. The case of human rights with the Anglophone crisis. Years back, this situation sparked the UN, the Security Council of the United Nations. At a time when the world expected that the UN should sanction Cameroon on certain terms, nothing happened. So we saw, still talking about democracy, how a single president, Donald Trump, went and bombarded other countries and nobody questioned them. The UN remained silent. So when all this happened, I might be forced maybe to see with you that the very fabrics that build democracy principle are attacked, and the organs that are supposed to be the watchdog, unfortunately, cannot fund themselves, and so they are powerless.
Okay, that's quite interesting, elaborate, and I seem to agree with you that democracy is more theoretical than reality, in that each system seems to only preach democratic principles when they are against, they are for others, they are for they and not for them. So I think that's what is happening around the world. Now let's go back to the football. Yes, the Minister of Sports and the President of FECAFOOT their wahala continues. And so in Cameroon Wahala, we want to analyze the wahala between between the Minister of Sport, because at times, even the victory that comes, their wahala seems to overshadow what is happening. So what's happening? Why should a common man who doesn't follow news every day expect or understand as this is concerned?
I think this is the time for celebration, and nobody should stop you from celebrating. Cameroonians have break the veil. It's been long. We have never come closer to the title as we came this time around. Even before the match, Cameroon Wahala, Malawi, most pronostic and prediction was already positioning Cameroon as the title winner. It took only 90 minutes for Cameroon to come a little bit more stronger than we expected. And so it's time for rejoice, for celebration. Let's celebrate. Just that at the very moment when we wanted to celebrate, there are noise grumbling a little bit louder than the music for celebration. And that noise is the bet on which the victory came along. There were restructure at the level of the female squads that brought in some new team managers, and there were some resistance from some previous players. But at the end of the day, the results that came actually shadow every other shortcoming that was observed before the competition. I need not to remind you that Cameroon was initially not qualified for the tournament until they had to broaden the membership participation. So from that background, critics that are reminding the Samuel Eto'o, Narcisse Lekombi Wahala, there are critics that are betting for systems and not individual. They don't want that when they talk about FECAFOOT, they should only see Samuel Eto'o, or when they talk about MINSEF, they should only see Mwele Kombi. They want the debate to be broadened beyond individuals. And I think that if we want to analyze from their own lens glass, what we understand is that next time Cameroon should be qualified. We shouldn't come from behind to participate. We shouldn't come as outsiders. Just as we are now qualified for the World Cup, we are going to the World Cup as favorites. When you come for a competition as a favorite, you have other monetary advantage. Even the choice of the hotel, even the choice of the logistic that they provide for your team is different. As continental champion, Cameroon will be heading to the next World Cup as favorite from a whole continent. And so their treatment will be preferential. Their treatment will be 10 times preferential. Their allocation, their financial allocation will be better off. So that is the debate. And the debate is, again, there are nations that are known for football. Cameroon is one in Africa. It is yet time for Cameroon to prove itself at the level of the world. We came closer in 1990. It's been more than 3 decades. And with Samuel Eto'o, a former soccer player, he is well placed to give Cameroonians, this generation, that chance to live a moment where we place Cameroon at the ceiling, if not at the rooftop of world football. And so, pressing on an independent management body, a more professional management body, a more collaborative management body between the FECAFOOT and the Ministry of Sport and Physical Education is not personal sentiment about one or the other. But unfortunately, we find ourselves in a context where Samuel Eto'o's supporter feels that he's always right and can never be wrong. Once debate take that kind of structure, it becomes difficult to contextualize and tell people what they are supposed to do, what they are supposed to, and where their limits are supposed to be. So many actors of football, both male and female, have been unjustly, for some, discarded from the practice of football in the country. And while they wait for a peace and reconciliation committees to be set so that they can regain their normal position, Samuel Eto'o and his broad fans base keep mocking at them. And that kind of feeling cannot bring serenity in an environment where they expect all Cameroonians to be supporters of football, especially when we are in an international tournament. So, those who are decrying the deteriorating relationship between the hierarchy of FECAFOOT and the FECAFOOT itself, they are simply pledging for institutional viability. institution should be stronger than individual.
Separate autonomy.
Yes, Samuel Eto'o should not take upon himself to be the figure of FECAFOOT, and as if before him there was no FECAFOOT and after him there will be no FECAFOOT. No. And that kind of clarity is supposed to be set while he is still ruling. And whether his fan base like it or not, those who are wise, wisdom recommends that they should keep striking on what is actually relevant for the future rather than being contented with the euphoria of the moment.
Okay, thank you for such analysis. Now, I want us to, before we move away from this edition, let's extend the victory Cameroon is celebrating, but a few months ago or so, last year, we were very, very unhappy with the performance of the male football team.
Right.
So, what can we learn from the current in respect to, so that maybe subsequently we get better? We couldn't even qualify for World Cup, which was so much dissatisfied with Cameroon being a football-loving nation, that our institution or our main football team couldn't even qualify for World Cup. What can we learn from the current success to make tomorrow better?
There's no big thing to learn from what just happened is in Rabat in Morocco, because it takes individuals to change the trajectory of their own generation. The fact that we were lucky to have a Michaeli who stood tall in the midst of a quagmire cannot in itself define the path to success. It is more a gambling that have paid. There is no assurance that if they were to take over this competition without Michaela, Cameroon would go far. Morocco had told their penalty shot that they missed. That was a chance that every other player could transform into a goal, and all this discussion about victories and others wouldn't have existed. So it's like a bet that have passed through, and it was a very risky bet, and it's big. So I could not pull a lot of wisdom from this victory.
If you want to associate the success to an individual, I want to pick up from that. Let's say an individual has a lot to do as the team's success is concerned. And it's often, it's very common in Cameroon to hear that the minister wanted this man wanted this, the coach wanted this. Does that still not point to us that there's something we should learn, or certain things that are of importance for us? Like, select the best. It should not be because my relative, my friend, or somebody recommended. Because I still find that if her performance was this magnificent, there's so many Cameroonians that could do the same, but that are often not selected for political, personal reasons.
And that's the very reason why most people are critics of Samuel Eto'o. Because the first division where Michaela played, though she said that Samuel Eto'o was the one who came and convinced her to join the Indomitable Lions squad, no problem. But the very team where she was trained, Eclairsa de la Leke, was under suspension some few months ago, before the kickstart of the last Cameroon Guinness League, which is the tournament that organizes female football in Cameroon, the Elite One tournament. Samuel Eto'o and his administration had to suspend that particular team until they discovered that the tournament would not make a lot of sense without them, because they have been a champion of Cameroon for so many times. And where you'll be asking me why? Well, the elder brother of Andre Onana happened to be the president of that particular team, and we all know the tussle that exists between Andre Onana and Samuel Eto'o since the Qatar World Cup in 2022. So these are personal friction that squeeze themselves into top managerial decision. And sometimes we hold strong critique against Samuel Eto'o for being unable to distinguish his interpersonal relationship with professional relationship when it comes to managing institutional and taking institutional decisions. That is where we fall out. We started having fallout. That major things that are supposed to be done without emotion, he always finds a way to bring in emotion. But his fan base won't let us speak freely. And we say, in such a dictatorial system, see the way a whole lecturer, Professor Onangini, is being mocked at Unfortunate for him, he cannot procreate, and some of Eto's fan base who were rewarded by sending them in Rabat to witness the female football jamboree that just ended with Cameroon being victorious. They were sent there to witness it. On which base? Because they spend their day on social media criticizing those who dare to put some little knowledge in what Samuel Eto'o does as management. It's uncalled for. And all that, they are operating on our taxpayers' cards. So Professor Onangini has been a victim. He even decried the fact that at the heart of his conflict with Samuel Eto'o, he went behind and included his sister in one of his activities, made public appearance with his younger sister, and he was simply said that for a man who actually respects human value, he will never beat that low below the belt. But unfortunately, this is what we obtain. We are not supposed to dig that much, but elements like Professor Onangini are actually echoes of the MINSEP regulatory job description. And that is the very reason why you see this particular aspect is linked to the absence of the President of the Republic. Because remember back then, between the tussle between MINSEP and FECAFOOT, when he has to, where are we playing the match? In Yaoundé or in Garoua? And finally, we played in Garoua because Samuel Eto'o was able to influence decision right from the presidency of the Republic. And we started this edition by reminding you that since 2018, Mr. Abbas stole a mandate that he was not supposed to have. And it is since then,
go back to that
debate, of course. Yes. We will not go back to that debate because I know you are not always agreeing with me on that point. But bet for the fact that if truly he was acting as a president, we would have never had the subordinate giving instruction to his hierarchy up to the point that it is the will of the subordinate that was respected after an in-house negotiation at the Prime Ministry office.
I can disagree with that because that's the essence of subordinates, to sit in when you are not there, or you can assign them to deliberate on some issues and decide. So that is just part of the governance process. We must accept it as such.
Well, what we are trying to say, came a moment where a letter came from FECAFOOT relaying instruction from the presidency of the Republic to his hierarchy. And I just want you to imagine that we are in a company and the president general, like the CEO, passes instruction to the branch manager to give to the general manager. And he left to you to tell me how that kind of instruction can be welcomed by the general manager. So we find ourselves in that kind of situation.
Okay, thank you very much for the wonderful analysis. And before we go, what are you telling our fellow listeners and viewers of this Cameroon Wahala channel?
Right, we
often want to leave them with something, inspiration, and inspire them, motivate them, and also criticize them.
Okay, this is the season for ghost town in the Northwest and the Southwest. Yesterday I published...
Are you promoting it?
Yesterday I published what is generally not said is actually the problem. If you prefer me to sit quiet, then that is where the problem is.
So are you promoting it?
Now, I want to talk about it.
You want to... as an analyst, that's what's happening. You are not neither a player nor an advocate.
You don't want to allow me talk.
Okay.
So, what is generally silent is the problem.
Okay.
Because people imagine it's a less affair and they have their own personal solution. But personal solutions have never solved communal grievances. Until we talk about it and everybody gets to know who is standing where before we can come closer with concrete mitigation. We cannot achieve peace without mitigating our position on a crisis, without compromising some of our stance. And so we presented a video yesterday. If you have not watched it, it's a must watch. It's a masterclass. We're talking about rice and stone, reminding you that if you don't talk about the crisis because you are afraid of your life, no problem. The day a loved one is shut down, please don't talk about it. That is choosing to eat your rice with the stone, claiming that you know what you are doing. Wise people then take time to select the stones from the rice. It takes a lot of time. It's risky. Because while others seem to be moving forward with their business, you always airing your mind about it, you seem to be the highest person who is vulnerable. Until the day that somebody is cracked down. And where did we got that inspiration? because there were some elements of military. I really indulge you to go and watch that video. Don't only watch, watch. There are elements of B that survive a bump point in the Northwest. And so they were celebrating, calling Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. We are children of the Almighty God. And so nothing will happen to us. Articulating for people who are French speaking in a way that one could be surprised that they learn English overnight. But here's the point. Those who equally put that bump casted a wonderful prayer, praying to Papa God that please make sure our enemy fall into this trap. And when the enemy, alleged enemy to them, come also over and survive the bomb, they start praying to the same God. Now picture the God the way he's confused upstairs. Who do I listen to? A God that can allow some people to trap alleged enemy and allow others to survive from the same trap is a God that certainly knows a little bit more than you can think. And so I was telling you that if you assume who is being pointed as an enemy or who is being pointed as a savior, you will end up eating your rice, of course, with the stone. And each time you can crack just the rice, you'll be happy. But most of the time you will crack plus the stone. And you will neither be enjoying the rice nor enjoying the stone. You will be midway, and the confusion has been staying like that for 10 years. This crisis is on. Businesses are paralyzed. You cannot pretend about it. The real enemy here is neither the government nor the separatist fighters. It's you. It's you because of your self-interest. In your head, you already have your solution, but you don't want to talk about it. Do human now start becoming angel to know what is happening in your head?
No.
So, until you learn to articulate what you see and point out and take your position, so that if the majority can act that way, you will see that collectively you can put yourself together and have a solution even faster.
Our viewers are just victims of the situation, and neither actors nor their promoters.
But they have to eat the rice.
So they're caught up in between.
No. Now, there were two videos yesterday.
Yes.
The first video was showing a mammoth crowd of people who were running towards a vehicle allegedly belonging to Samuel Eto'o.
Yes.
Good. Celebrating. Maybe you watched that video. No, so the idea was what? We were trying to tell them that they are just satisfied because there were so many vehicles. The first one came and passed. The second one, then one person said, no, he is there. And you saw all of them run towards it. What do you think psychologically is happening? Celebration. Then personal agenda. Everybody is hoping that going towards this particular vehicle, a 500 note, a 1,000 note, a 10,000 note, or even a selfie can come out. Personal interest. But I saw how even men in uniform that were guarding the car finally gave up and even came up to the camera and said, ah. So it showed that their number, through their number, they could outweight the pressure, the security that was around them. If you cannot listen to the wisdom of life, it will take 10 years, 20, 50, until a generation that are going to act like Biya. Because we're telling you already, never forget. It takes always a small hand of people to change the trajectory of a generation. The majority of human beings prefer to eat their rice with the stone simply because they have their solution in their heads and expect governing or those who can impose their position with force.
We'll leave it here for today. In today's edition, we discuss the victory of the women's football team. Everybody's celebrating Cameroon. But that celebration at the same time comes with controversy between the Minister of Sports and the President of FECAFOOT, Samuel Eto'o. And we learned that sometimes we have to give credit where credit is due. And at the same time, we are saying that the Prime Minister made a promise that the women team will receive a presidential welcome. It never comes to pass. Was it just a bluff, or what happened? Is one of the things that if you have not followed the entire detail, you need to listen to what our analyst has to say. So what should we be looking for? Come the next video.
Well,
probably tomorrow.
Captain Efudu made an outing, and shortly after, he had to push back. So he started attacking all the missing children that were here nationwide, all the girls that are now turning to influencer because of sex money, or the libido problem that has to do with promotion at different state apparatus. And after we had the journalist Morgan Palmer, who came out decrying the fact that more and more they are paying influencers to nullify, to speak on all the outing of Captain Efudu. Okay. So in our next edition, we'll certainly be bringing you to start questioning the method of Captain Efudu. We started pointing out to you that he might be out for score settling, and he acknowledged that by himself. But now, has he changed his profession? Are we looking towards the next blogger from officer posture? Can he be blogging now with secret information? That is what he's gradually turning to.
And also, so many lives lost. I don't know any
car accident. Well, I mean,
we have to talk about this.
The situation of road in Cameroon, just as the situation of drought or floods, landslide, mudslides, are problem of prevention. When you man our highway, I just left road number 5 recently. I discovered that when traveling, when you say when you thank God for traveling mercy, for journey mercy, sometimes it's overrated. Like, we don't really measure what it means. But if you meet every driver at the steering and he tells you what it takes to master a road or to dodge potholes, you really understand the meaning of thanking God for journey mercy. So mostly drivers are supposed to be blamed for accident, because we already know that our country is not governed. People who stole election cannot govern responsibly.
Thank you very much. And if you have not liked or subscribed to the channel, please do like, subscribe, and also share, so that we're here to give you more about Cameroon Wahala. Thank you, and see you next time.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.